Hey guys, happy Friday the 13th. Joining you guys from the DCF studio here in the beautiful south side of Chicago. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for another episode of DCF Live. So good to see all of your smiling faces. We're going to go ahead and let some people pile into the chat here. Hopefully everything is looking good and sounding good. Once I get that okay from you guys, we will dive in. I actually want to start the episode showing a little bit of your guys' work. So if you're not already, make sure you head over to our Discord. We have it linked in the bio, and I would love to see you guys post what you're working on right now, or maybe what you finished this week over in the main chat channel. So we've already had quite a few people post in there, and a lot of that is looking really good. So good to see all of you guys. Thank you for joining us for another one of these no YouTube video the past 2 weeks. It was last week I had a big 14 pair order for the executives of the Detroit Pistons. That kept me super busy, and that was, funny enough, a project that was due on Saturday, and I arrived at FedEx. The cutoff for express shipping, for overnight shipping for FedEx, is at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. And I pulled up to FedEx with one box shipping 14 shoes. You don't even want to know how much that cost, because it was heavy, because it was 14 pairs. It was a huge box. With FedEx, you have to pay extra for Saturday delivery. And so you don't even want to know the cost of this box. But I pulled up to FedEx at literally like 6:31 and was like, please tell me the express truck hasn't left yet. And please let me know this can still get on there. And that was last Friday's battle. So last week I was sleeping like 2 to 3 hours a night. It was crazy getting all 14 pairs done. I only had 5 days to do them. And that's the way it goes sometimes. Sometimes you're just going to be on crazy deadlines like that and have to, accommodate certain people who help really support you. This was for a great client of mine. And, when I started out many years ago, I could only hope to one day be in a position where I have a 14 pair order that is so important that I'm only able to sleep a couple hours a night because it's that important, and people want work from me that much, and they're willing to pay to get it quicker and all this type of stuff. So I'm more than thankful to be in a position to even do that. And then this week, just catching up on some other orders. Obviously, last week was completely dedicated to that, so working on some other stuff. What I'm really trying to do is try to get a little bit ahead with some YouTube videos, so really start planning out, because I've never been, even though we've been on YouTube for over 3 years now, we've never really been that far ahead to where we have, maybe 5 to 10 videos done and banked that we could release at any time. And, for the most part, over the last, 2 years, we've released about 1 video a week, usually on Wednesdays. Sometimes that'll vary, and we're usually still working on that video, exporting it on Wednesday morning, and certainly working on it late Tuesday night. So I would love to get a little bit ahead and have some videos completely done, so then I can really tailor some of the content towards what you guys are trying to see. So I hear some people saying the audio is a little echoey. Let me see. Audio is a little echoey. I'm going to switch scenes. Maybe that does it. Let me know if that sounds... That might do it. Hopefully that sounds a little bit better. You guys let me know. I just switched scenes in the streaming software. Hopefully that does it. Make sure the mic's on. Mic's good, so that hopefully should do it for us. So I don't know if the whole time it was using, hopefully not the laptop audio or something like that. So Slow Patrol says, I see what you did there with that shirt. Yeah, have to wear the Jason shirt on Friday the 13th. Absolutely have to. No change. Okay, so does it sound really bad? Because I don't want to do a whole show with poor audio. You let me know. No change, still echoing, but it's fine. I don't want to have a whole show up with bad audio. Sometimes just reconnect everything. See what that does. Let me know if there is any change there. Audio test sounds great. It's fine. You have volume on somewhere else. No volume on anywhere else. Let me know if that is any better. Echo, but not slightly robotic. Yeah, that happened at the end of the last stream that we did for some reason. Sounds cool. Let's see. Maybe if I put the mic a little bit further away from me, let me know if that does anything. Hot in my studio today. Waiting for you guys to let me know. It's better. It's not the road. Now it's worse. Oh boy. Let's see. Audio. Okay. Give me 1 sec. I'm going to completely remove the device and add it back in the streaming software. Okay, let me know if that did anything better. If that was better. Boys, it was the Rode microphone. When you unplugged it, the sound went better. Well, we wouldn't want to not have the mic plugged in. There's a chance that maybe the cable is causing the issue. But don't trust me. Unplug the Rode and see what people say. If I unplug the Rode, it's going to be using like laptop audio or something like that. So that is definitely not what we want. Sounded good when you were moving it. Let me know. Worse. Okay, that made it worse. Doot. Okay, my audio mixer here. Mic aux. Let's see. Hide that. Okay, how about that? Let's try that one. I think that might have done it. I don't touch the settings on the Rode from what I usually do anytime I have videos. There is 2 settings that you could change on the back, but I never usually tweak those. So hopefully that did it. Let me know. Everything seems to be looking good on the mixer and the software. No change, real loud echo. Man, oh man. Okay, so if I unplug it, how about, nope. Mic. Sounds a bit echoey, your laptop mic. My laptop mic is not turned on. Sounds the same. Sounds like you might be getting picked up by 2 mics. Now it's good. I love when you just hear different things. Much better. It's not as bad. People might say you can keep the video like that. Okay. We will we'll roll. Every time you move the mic, it gets better. That got rid of it. It was good, bad. Okay. We'll roll with it. All right, so let me see. I saw a couple questions that came in. Got to scroll up a bit here, and then we'll take a look at what you guys are working on. Do you do custom denim jackets? I've done a couple. Yep, I definitely love working on jackets. Those are fun. I'd certainly like to do more, too. Rebel Lifestyle says, any alternative for Angelus? I would say the 2 other big competitors would be Jacquard Airbrush paint and Alpha 6 paint. Whenever you adjust the mic, it sounds good. Then you unplug it, and it starts over. Rode mic is unplugged. Sounds up. It's the same tech you had last time. What about your camera mic? Nope, not the camera mic. It's still bad, people. It's the Rode microphone when unplugged in like it is now. If I unplug the Rode, which I'll do right now, I have no idea which audio it's going to use. So let's see. Now it's unplugged. I don't know if you guys can even hear me at this point now. With nothing plugged in. Sounded better when you unplugged the mic. The echo's barely even there. We can still hear clearly. I wonder if I could use pressure or in the comments. Sounds perfect. Better. Perfect. That's better. There's no way this is good audio. It's not even showing any audio popping up in the streaming software now. So I don't know if it's just, I don't know, man. What do I know? Everybody's saying it's good. We'll roll with it, okay? We'll roll with it. So let's see. Let's go ahead and pop up the Discord. This is probably using some crappy laptop mic. So now volume needs punching. Well, there's no way for me to, it's quieter. Okay, I'll try to scoot you guys closer maybe, because it's probably using some mic here. There's no light. Sean, I hear you. I know that you're saying unplug it, but there's literally nothing showing on the mixer now, so I'm not even sure where it's picking up audio from. So I get it. I get what you're trying to say, but let's see. Let's go ahead over into our Discord. Nick, yes, I am using OBS. Okay, so let me switch over here. Okay, take a look at these. With the wood grain, that looks awesome. I really like those laces on these too. This is a really sweet color palette, the blue and that wood grain on these Air Forces. These are from T-Mines Custom Designs. Gab, with the X's, I'm not sure how you say your name, but maybe Gabriella, with a pretty cool pair of baby Air Forces. Those are tough to work on with how little they are. Got a pair of Eminem shoes with all of his different album covers. Those are pretty cool. Ty Custom Kicks with his submission for the Paris Gallery coming up in, I believe it starts in the month of September. I am working on my pair over the weekend. These are awesome, Ty. Great job on those. Colby Hayes with a cool pair of Vans Skate Highs with, looks like some Pokemon Stadium there. And then is that Zelda or Link on the other one? Zelda. Right? That's Zelda? Maybe it's Link. It's been a while since I've played any Nintendo. But yes, I believe that that's one of those. Here we have a pair of Sonic and Knuckles. And what kind of shoes are these? No idea what this base shoe is, but it has light up soles. Beckham Customs with a cool pair of Spider-Man cleats. Those look good. Really clean logoing here. Super dope. And these were for, I can't remember. I believe a player on the Colts, which is cool. Crave Customs here with these. These are looking good. Love me a good pair of anime Jordan 1s. There's so many. Jordan 1s work great for character designs like this. I'm doing some Union Monarchs. These are cool. These are great for the dads out there. Oh, here's a pair that I thought would be great to touch on. We have a pair of LV Air Forces, and the colorway looks good. But something interesting about these that I think anybody could learn from is the positioning of the stencils themselves. So as you could tell, almost everything gets cut off, and although the pattern does look correct here, as far as like, I imagine you didn't really alter the stencil too much with where all of the little symbols are placed. When you're working on a swoosh, where you're working on an area where everything is going to be a little bit obstructed, and that it's not, the entire pattern isn't going to be that legible, you're going to have quite a few pieces of the little symbols that are going to be cut off. It's a good idea in this little area right here where the swoosh is at its biggest to place one of your larger symbols. That'll really help you, and that'll make the pattern become a lot more legible. So definitely recommend trying that out. Let's see. I see some people asking for the link to the Discord. That is linked in the description of the video. So you can join the Discord right from there. A soul swap here. These are pretty cool, inspired by the little bit of those Jordan 4s, and obviously some of the classic Royal colorway. Really dig those. And then a cool pair of Space Jam Air Forces. Those look dope. Always love a good Space Jam theme. And then here we have some Tom and Jerry Air Forces. Those are cool too. And then Ja Customs with I Am Captain Snowball. That is a very smooth gradient on these Converse, these little children's Converses. That's a very good gradient. And I believe that was it. Okay, we got a couple more pairs that rolled in. Some of the shell toes. We have Tupac on one. And then the Dior symbols with, I believe, Travis on the other. Is that Travis, I believe? Pretty cool. A work in progress here from Melissa with the Harry Potter Air Forces. Oh, this is interesting. So here, Dylan in the Discord says, I bought a tattoo gun for this just to see what would happen. Very cool. Interesting to see this done with a tattoo gun. I have not seen that before. FPS Reality with a rainbow drip on these Air Forces. Smooth gradient. Great job there. Oh, Costa says that was Pop Smoke. Okay, there you go. Thank you for letting me know. Thought it was Travis because I saw the dreads there. And then Harry Potter on the other side of these Air Forces. Those look really good too. I really like the texture that you did behind the logo there. That looks good. Utilizing negative space as your friend. Yeah, some good stuff here in the chat. Another pair of Jordan 1s with the dark green gradient. And look at these from Brotistic. This is dope. Love me a good pair of slip-on Vans. Good job, man. Very cool stuff coming in from you guys today. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and see what you guys are saying in the chat. Drip SR4 says, can I use Angelus finisher on Posca markers when used on shoes? You can use any finisher you want for them. I'm not the biggest fan of using Poscas on shoes. Usually I think they have a lot less durability than paint, but yeah, you certainly would want to use some type of finisher on them. And then, there's a time and place where Poscas could be used correctly, I'd say. But, if you're doing the whole shoe, I think that is a lot less likely to hold up, unfortunately. Juan here says, one thing I see lacking on YouTube is sneaker color theory, matching original paint color from primary and secondary colors. What do you recommend to understand sneaker color theory? Well, I think that color theory is great to know in general. It's certainly, really good to understand, the color wheel and just understand how colors work together. But you know, art in design is, especially when it comes to sneakers and how they've evolved over the years, is so free flowing that it's so often the norm to sort of break the rules when it comes to color theory. But it is definitely still very beneficial to know and just understand when designing how colors are going to play with one another, and especially when you move into realism, really understanding how you'll get certain things to pop a little bit more. But just as far as like general designing, I think that your statement was that it said it was lacking, right? I see lacking on YouTube is sneaker color theory. I think that it might be lacking in terms that it's probably not talked about very much. You know what I mean? I don't think you see too many people. I don't think we've really ever talked about color theory too much. Oh, we've certainly brought it up here and there in certain videos, but I'm not sure if we even, I don't even think we have like a single dedicated video to just that. But I could certainly, maybe that would be a good video idea. So I certainly see your point. Let's see here. Anthony says Liquid Kicks is the best finisher. Definitely agree with that. Costa says, let's see those Warhawk Adidas up close. Yes, this is a pair that I was working on this week. I will have to get out of the shot a little bit to see. The camera is on the face tracking, so it's trying to find my face rather than the shoes. But here you can see these. Really pleased with how these turned out. I wasn't too sure how the Warhawk theme was going to work. Trying to hide my face behind the laptop a little. So almost done with those. But yeah, I think Warhawk's a theme that that you've probably seen on almost every silhouette out there at this point. So it was cool to test it out on the shell toes. So I'm almost done with those, and I did do a video on those. I did film a lot of that, so we could go over talk about the process of doing rivets and trying to create like a metal panels without any type of stencils or anything. So all you need to do that is tape. And there's no other stencils needed to do that type of design. So I thought that would certainly make for a cool video. Listband says, will you do any video on all the types of vinyls? Trying a lot of different ones, but not really finding something great. Definitely. I have a video that is a video series that we are going to be calling Stencil Basics. And I hope to release Stencil Basics over the next few months. And this is ideally going to be a series that probably, maybe I do one every, maybe a couple times a year. So they're really spaced out. And I want to cover probably like a 3 to 4 part series, just going over a lot of the stuff for just getting started when it comes to using stencils and vinyl and all that types of stuff. But we do have a good video, our multi-layer stencil video, which I know we have linked in the description also. That one talks all about the different vinyls that we use. So I really only use 2 different types of vinyls. I use Oracal 811 for a large majority of projects, and then I use FDC 3700 glitter vinyl anytime I'm working on fabrics, or if I need something incredibly precise. But that glitter vinyl is 10 times stronger, and if your paint isn't really adhered to your surface, it's going to totally rip it up. So you got to be careful with that one. Blue Bomber says, what's the best kind of tape to use for masking? The 2 that I use would be Pro Tape's crepe paper if I'm masking off like the soles and I want to try to not leave behind any residue. But for my sort of fine line on the midsole, I use the Green Scotch 2060 tape. Yes. Let's see. Balsam says, "Hey bro, 2 days ago I bought Angelus black paint. I painted ASOS's slip-ons, and here's my question: can I wash them? You can clean them with any regular sneaker cleaner or soap and water. As far as if you could throw them in the wash, I probably would not recommend doing that. Um, I've thrown painted roches in the wash before, and those have actually been fine as far as like the fabric. But when it came to like the swoosh on those, it did scuff those up a little bit because I painted the swoosh on those also. So it depends on the material. But like let's say you painted let's just say you painted a Yeezy, and you threw a Yeezy in the wash. I actually do think that that it would hold up fine because it's a fabric, the prime knit. Rory Carr says, I just got told Angelus are displaying a pair of my shoes at DesignerCon London, and I want to say a huge thanks, Dylan. You are one of the main reasons I started, and you are such an inspiration. Rory, congratulations at DesignerCon in London. That is huge, man. Super dope. Good for you, man. I am not familiar with DesignerCon as far as the convention itself. I'm not sure if it's so. Is it at all like SneakerCon where there's a lot of sneaker vendors and whatnot, or is it really just about designer fashion and whatnot, just going off of the name? Either way, totally cool. And I'm not sure if you are UK based also, Rory, but super cool. Obviously, if you get the chance to go too, and meeting people in person and showing off work can be huge. Shiver Soulmate says, are you doing another contest soon to send you shoes and you unbox them, or is that a special event? I know you're a busy guy. Yes, reviewing your customs, we do plan to do another episode soon, but we also do plan on announcing our next contest soon. It has been a long time in the works. I said that I was probably going to be announcing the contest back in springtime, and we are not too far away from fall up here, but the contest is going to be announced within the next couple of weeks here. AAJ says, I can't seem to get yellow paint to get even and solid, even when mixing in white in some layers. Do you think like 9 layers would be too much? I absolutely do. I think that the absolute most you want to do is going to be, I usually say 4 to 6 is the sweet range. 7 is where you're approaching probably too much paint. Definitely. So 9, I would say, is definitely too much paint. There's there's just no more, that paint's just not going to be able to flex with that much paint being applied. So you said that you did mix some white in. It depends on the surface that you might be working on. I'm not sure if we're working on an Air Force or a Jordan 1 in all white, or who knows, maybe you're trying to go to a bright yellow, but starting off with a black Air Force or something like that. As far as suggestions would be, I want my 2 top layers to be solid 100% yellow, but every other layer leading up to that, you might need just a little bit more white, or even throwing a couple dots in some of those early layers, a couple dots of light gray or mist paint will really help you. So, your first layer, if we're talking like 80% white, 5% light gray, even less, like a drop, like 2% light gray, and the rest is yellow. And then you're slowly just mixing in 10% more yellow on the next few layers. That could help you for sure. Let's see. Thank you guys for joining us today. The chat is flowing. Let me try to see what else we have here. Gabby, can you do a video on how you use your silhouette and make one-time use stencils? That will be covered in our stencil basics video. Definitely will. Cassidy Vine says, which finisher should you get from Liquid Kicks for a flat finish? They do have flat. That is their most matte one. So if you go on their website, they have a picture and they paint on, it looks like maybe like a bicycle seat cover or something like that, and they show all the different sheens, and you can actually see flat is significantly more flat than their matte finish, and I think that either of those totally work fine, but the matte finish, the level above their absolute most flat finish, is probably the best all-around one, I would say. Art Pilot says, how much money would you ask for customs where I put 10 hours in, inclusive the price for paint? I asked $85 for it, $35 for the materials, and $50 for the work, so $5 an hour. So, let's talk about that one a little bit. In a vacuum, in a one pair situation, $5 an hour, that's not good. You know what I mean? That's below minimum wage anywhere. And obviously that's not something that, you could turn into a long-term business. But, if this is something that's going to help you grow your business, if this is what you're doing early on to at least make some money, if you're just trying to build up your portfolio, that's totally okay. But at that rate, is that sustainable to build a business? Absolutely not. But is there pairs where I've spent, over the thousands of pairs I've done, there are certainly pairs where, if it boiled down to dollars per hour, it would be less than that. It would be damn near negative for cost of supplies and then all the hours put in. So, that's certainly not like, oh, I want my business model to be I charge, $5 an hour after I, take out my cost for supplies and all that. That's definitely not a fair market rate. But if you're just, maybe this was a pair for a friend or a family member and they're just trying to, you didn't want to charge them too much, you wanted to give them a good price, then, it's not bad. If you're just starting out and just trying to build that portfolio. But if you're really trying to grow the business and start to make a little bit more money, that's not going to be something that you can do long term. But at the same time, you'll also just see some people who say, well, I can't get any new commissions. I'm not seeming to attract any clientele. And so I'm just going to sort of give up. Well, I think that you would be better off taking on jobs like this where even if it comes down to $5 an hour, how can you sort of turn this into a positive and start to make a really great pair that can attract new people? And at least you made something on it. And you can, get some great content out of it that you can use on all the various platforms and hopefully start to attract new people. You know what I mean? So we can't always just look at things. We can't always just look at things in a vacuum and say, I made $5 an hour on this project, so was this a success or a failure? Well, if we look at it in a vacuum, that would certainly be a failure. You don't want to work for $5 an hour. That's certainly not fair for any artist. So, yeah, hopefully that explanation made some sense, Art Pilot. Rory says, how important is a customized shoebox in building a brand? How important is it? I would say it's not super high up on the priority list for building a brand, but it's something that when it comes to branding and you're wanting to, start to focus on that more, I think it's pretty darn cool to have your own box. You know what I mean? It's going to get a lot of people excited. It's going to be something that stands out amongst all of their other orange and black and red boxes. So it can be pretty cool too. So, but do you have to right away in your custom sneaker journey say it's time for me to get boxes? No, I didn't do them for probably 5-ish years in, and in order for me to get it to a place where they were what I deem somewhat affordable, the first time around we got them, we had to order 250, and that was about $8 a box. So at that time, spending 8 times 250, whatever that was around $2,000 plus all the shipping, probably came out to around $2,500 or something like that. That was quite the investment at the time. You know what I mean? I was certainly scared to spend $2,500 on something that didn't necessarily directly have a how is this going to increase my revenue tomorrow at that time? That was, a thought of mine, but it's something that has definitely worked in the long run for helping build my brand. So absolutely. Black Token says, how do you do the rivets on those? We are going to have a video on that itself, and hopefully it captures on camera. I know it will on pictures. I already have a cool spot in mind for where I plan to shoot the pictures of these. But I really want to get myself out of the frame. But hopefully some of the rust really... I tried to really play with the colors too. I do think it appears on the camera, some of the rust on these. And I'm trying to just get the... I have a big light right there, so I'm just trying to place it correctly so that you can see the colors. Now it's back to finding me. But yeah, these are cool, and like I said, we do have a video on these in the not too distant future. And like I said, no stencils required to do an effect like that, which is pretty cool. So HLTCTV says, I'm excited for my Angelus paints to come in. I ordered the neon set and the 80 plus color set. It is going to be like Christmas Day for you very soon. So that is super exciting. Good for you. Good for you. Let's see. What's the best stencil creating machine? The two most common ones that you'll see would be the Silhouette Cameo and then the Cricut series. Cricut has a few, like the Air, the Portrait, and they have a couple other ones. So those would be the two main competitive sort of user-friendly brands. The one that I've always used is the Silhouette Cameo. Broken Brain Custom says, what shoe should a beginner paint on? And then it says Air F. So I'm not sure if you were starting to type out, Air Force One. I do think that that's a great shoe to start on, or Jordan ones, or yeah, those would definitely be my recommendations, or a pair of Dunks. You might even be able to find some Dunks even cheaper. But all of those have very similar panel structure, which I think is just classic. Just a classic shoe design. All the paneling that those shoes feature, an Air Force One, a Jordan 1, and a pair of Dunks. It's super cool that Air Forces and Jordan 1s are probably like what 80% of the custom sneakers that you see nowadays are Air Forces and Jordan 1s. When I started 10 years ago, they were probably like 10% of the custom sneakers that you saw. Like specifically, a lot more custom Jordans were being used. Like Jordan 3s, Jordan 6s, Jordan 4s, Jordan 5s, and some of the Nike basketball sneakers were a lot more popular custom shoe bases. Like the LeBron 9s and 10s and 11s were super popular for custom sneakers. I mean, you look at some of the stuff that Mosh did on like the LeBron 10. I mean, you want to talk about an artist owning a silhouette. The stuff that Mosh did on the LeBron 10s were absolutely crazy. So let's see here. Thank you guys for hanging out with us here in the chat. It is super busy today, so I'm certainly trying to answer as many questions as possible. And believe me, I'm not trying to skip anybody's questions, so feel free to ask it again. You don't need to spam. But if it's been a while and I didn't get a chance to answering your question, feel free to ask it again a little bit later. Justice Fowler says, Dylan, have you ever thought about involving things in your customs such as LED lights and fabric stitching or just paint? Take a look, Justice, take a look at our video that we did on our Grinch custom Vans skate highs from Christmas of 2019. It is a really cool pair where we did some stuff with lights and with fabric. And that's not something that I do too often, too many external things to the shoes. 99% of all of the shoes I've ever done have really just been about paint, but it was definitely cool to do something on those. And another pair where I did something external playing with some liquid latex was the Chucky Air Force Ones. And it's cool to just step outside of the box, and those are certainly two of my favorite pairs that I've ever done. So Fuego Brick says, I followed that same advice painting a baby Air Force One, multiple layers, help bring out the pink. Thank you. Absolutely. Yeah. Just as far as getting your colors, how can we get the job done in as few coats as possible should sort of always be at the forefront of your mind, in my opinion. And using things like white and light gray as bases can really help you. And some people out there I've heard a lot of people say absolutely do not use light gray. It'll hurt you. But light gray, especially specifically, not just like color theory as a whole, but when we're talking about in real life application to using Angelus paints, light gray is so strong with how just really opaque it is. That's why it makes for such a great base. You know what I mean? Like if you just have a white surface, white leather, and you just paint light gray on top of it, that light gray is going to look damn near solid, just like black would after 2 light coats, maybe 3 coats. And but if you just painted yellow or purple right on top of an all white Air Force One, it would take you 10 coats. You know what I mean? So using some of those things in some of your really early base coats can really help you. Now, if you used too much light gray because it's so strong, it would really drown out some of that yellow. If we were trying to get like a bright yellow to pop, let's just say you're working on a white Air Force One, you wouldn't want to make it completely light gray first and then try to do yellow on top. You know what I mean? But depending on the shoe, depending on the design, depending on the situation, sometimes using a little bit of light gray can absolutely help. I believe DesignerCon London is an artist convention in XL London, so more artist-based than sneakers specifically. Very cool. Very cool. Tim says, "Hi Dylan, are you going to be reviewing some Instagrams today?" Yes, if you guys would would like to have me take a look at some Instagrams, I would be more than glad to do so. We will go today about another hour and 15 minutes. We'll go to about 4:30 Central Time today, so we can absolutely do that. Kicks for the Soul says, should I practice more with paintbrush or start with airbrush? If you're just trying to learn the basics, I think there's nothing wrong with starting out with the paintbrush. I didn't really regularly use an airbrush for, a few years when I was starting out because they were such a headache to work with because I kept just buying cheap airbrushes. So you absolutely can start out with the paintbrush, but if your design style calls for airbrushing textures or airbrushing a lot of gradients, then yeah, dive right into it. You know what I mean? If you know you're going to be working towards that soon enough, then yeah, go right into it. I also, one of the more requested videos over the past 3 years has been how to, and if anybody regularly joins us for these YouTube live Q&As, one of the more asked questions is, can I paint a gradient? Can I do a blend? Can I paint an ombre? Whatever you want to call it, with a paintbrush. And my answer has always been, it's just 10 million times easier with a paintbrush or with an airbrush, that I never even bothered doing it with a paintbrush. But I have a pair coming up here on a pair of blazers where the design calls for a gradient that I think would work well for me to finally do the blending with a paintbrush by hand. And so that's a video that I'm excited to do. Now, the design itself, the way that I'll describe it is I call it like a makeup palette design. So it's going to be sort of different shades of like a blush skin tones. So I just don't want to create any false illusions that it would be easy to create a gradient between yellow and black. No, that's even hard with an airbrush. So I won't be doing that. Like when you're going to be doing a gradient by hand, which, mind you, I haven't even done the shoes yet, you really want to make sure that these are colors that, when we go back to color theory, if we take a look at the color wheel, within that spectrum of the color wheel. These are colors that are going to be pretty close to each other, so it'll still be a pretty nice blend from front to back, and I'll definitely cover quite a range. But I won't be doing, complementary colors like a Christmas theme where let's try to blend red to green or orange to blue or purple to yellow. It won't be any of that. But it'll at least go over how to go about doing it by hand, which is something that I've wanted to do for years, and I finally have a pair that I think will really work for it. And I've tried to play in my head with how I want the video to be of, should I maybe do one shoe by hand and then the other shoe with an airbrush and see if I can make my blend just as clean with a paintbrush versus if I did it with an airbrush. And the only issue that I have with that is that these are actually for a client, so I don't want to send them like two mismatched gradients because one happens to be a lot better than the other with the airbrush. And that's just me assuming that I won't be able to make the blend by hand as good because I know it's so much easier with an airbrush. So we'll see. Once I actually get into it, we'll see. But I know that's going to be good, and that's a long, highly requested video for sure. Christy says, if I'm painting a character, should I do more coats for each color or just the ones that I want more saturated? I would say even when I still do character work, like just for example, when I'm doing the shark teeth within this Warhawk design, the red takes more than the black as far as in terms of coats. So I still try to make them totally solid. So to me, the answer is always just like however many coats it takes to do the job to make, the character solid. I don't think that I would want to leave, my red nowhere near as saturated as, and as far as in terms of how deeply the color's packed in versus the black. That just would look like an incomplete design, in my opinion, on these. So, Customs by Kev says, if you aren't painting the whole entire cleat, how do you prep the only areas you want to paint? Would you slap a stencil on and only sand that spot? That is typically what I recommend. Like, let's just say you had an all-white cleat and you were just doing, some type of stencil for a character. Maybe you're throwing Goku on there. How do you go about prepping everything? Yeah, you could absolutely lay down a stencil for where your character would be and then sand, within that stencil that you made. That's absolutely something that you could do. It's also really not going to be too much of an issue if you sand, a little bit wider than that. And if it was, like if any of the cleat got marked up because of the different materials of cleats, that if you prepped it good, but you left, let's just say it's an all white cleat, you left some light gray marks surrounding the area. Something you could do is just build out some texture right behind that. So for example, here was a cool pair that was in the Discord earlier. That Harry Potter. Let me pull those up because that's a good example of them. Let's see. Yeah. This Harry Potter design, if you take a look behind that symbol, like let's just say, you over prepped that area and you had some light gray now. Well, you could do something like that behind, your character or whatever. Something that fits within the design and cover up anything that, might have went wrong during the prepping process. Justice Fowler says, Dylan, how would you suggest getting started on getting quality shoes for cheap when you start out? So Justice, it sort of depends on, what you mean. If you're just trying to build out your portfolio and self-fund it all yourself and just start to do a bunch of pairs, for yourself or just for content purposes, and you're saying, hey, Air Forces or Jordan 1s, they're, I can't go and buy 10 pairs of these. Certainly something you could do is just take one pair, paint them, build your content around it, and then as long as they're not meant to be wearable, you could just go ahead, acetone all the paint off, and do another design again on top of those. So that's something that I definitely recommend. Just buying one shoe and painting different designs right on top of it. You know what I mean? Acetone it off just so paint doesn't get too caked up and then it no longer looks good up close. But you could certainly acetone the paint off and just do new designs if you're just trying to, like I said, really start to build up your portfolio to show off to people. Um, I wish there was a better solution for just how to get wholesale Air Force Ones or Jordan Ones or something like that. When I just did this recent project with, it was 14 pairs of Jordan Ones, I ended up having to pay resale on all 14 of them because there was, even when I would go on Nike.com, even though I'm banned from buying on Nike.com, I was still gonna, ask a friend to buy them for me and send the money type deal. Um, that's a whole nother story that I've said before on me being banned from buying on Nike.com. But there was only like 2 or 3 sizes available, and I think there was, as far as what was ordered from me, I might have only been able to get one shoe from them, so I just bought them all from StockX, and then Hibbett Sports, I was able to get like 3 of the pairs, I think, for retail. But other than that, yeah, I had to pay like 150 to 175 per for each shoe. So, yes. So I wish there was. Yeah, it's unfortunate that there's no direct solution for customizers to get good quality base shoes for cheap. Owen Atkinson with a good one here says, how do you find unique topics to paint on shoes? I see a lot of similar themes, NBA, Dragon Ball Z, Joker, and I just want to know how to find things that separate you from the competition. Well, interestingly enough, I think there's a few different ways you could look at this, Owen, but something that pops up in my mind is my buddy Sean, who you guys might know as Color Me Fresh. So if I pull up his Instagram over here, Sean is just one of my favorite artists out there because he took something that a lot of people have done, like you mentioned here, Dragon Ball Z or anime in general, but he does it with just such a unique take that there's no way for it to not stand out. Like here's a pair of Ninja Turtle Jordan 1s that he did with the cheese pizza, and the cheese is just dripping all over the place. I mean, Sean is so dope, and his anime work is just absolutely crazy. Here's a Master Roshi pair of Jordan 1s. So you could say, yeah, I've seen Dragon Ball Z done a million times on Jordan 1s and countless other shoes, but yet Sean still finds a way for it to be unique and dope, doing things with the swooshes and just how he designs the shoes himself, his artistic style. So that right there is absolutely one way that you could stand out. You know what I mean? Just do something that hasn't been done before. That's certainly easier said than done. And Sean's a super talented designer, along with being a great artist. Sometimes both of those are two unique talents. Sometimes it's how good of a designer are you. Sean's a great designer, but then you also have to bring it to life also. And sometimes certain people are better at one of those more so than the other. But to really stand out, the designing comes before the actual bringing it to life. So, having ideas of something that'll be really different is can be really beneficial for you. And how do you find unique topics to paint on shoes? I see a lot of similar themes: NBA, Dragon Ball Z, Joker, and just want to know how to find things that separate you. Yeah, so just trying to something that I like to do too is for example, let's say you're doing a Joker theme. Take a look at a lot of the Joker themes and what has been done in the past and say, cool, let me try to eliminate almost all of these and ask myself, how can I do something different with the Joker character? You know what I mean? So go on Google. If you just got commissioned to do a Joker pair of shell toe Adidas, take a look at all of the Joker themes that have been done in the past and say, okay, cool, I like a lot of these. Maybe some of these stand out to me more so than the others. What is it about these ones that stand out to me that I really like more so than the other ones that I don't like? And how can I begin to put my own spin on some of that? So, yeah, and just doing of course, your own original art too, but it's harder to get your own original style to really pop off over time. And every Wednesday, I do an Instagram live with two other fellows, Sean, Color Me Fresh, and Zach from Bald Boy Design. Make sure you go ahead and follow both of those great artists. But Zach does almost all completely original work, and everything he does definitely stands out also because it's so far out there from what people are used to seeing. So I think those are two great artists and two great examples of how you can find ways to stand out. And I love chatting with those guys. We have a great time every Wednesday night. And just all three of us we come from completely different backgrounds within how we grew in the custom sneaker industry, or how far we are into our journey and all that type of stuff. So it's really cool to chat with different artists like that. So make sure you go ahead and give those guys a follow. Raven S says, what is the best technique for hand painting gradient colors? See, I knew that was definitely, it's always one of the most asked questions. And yes, I'm excited to do that video soon. That also shows how far I am back in the chat, because I talked about that one a while ago. Ron Got Soul says, how's the filming process going now that Jason is gone? I'm still trying to figure out the best way to film my customs. Yes, Ron, it is definitely tough. I knew it was going to be tough. It's probably even tougher than I could have expected, because of the... I wasn't going to allow there to be a drop in the quality of the YouTube videos. Now, not having Jason, I would be lying to myself if I didn't say that there will need to be a drop in the quantity of the YouTube videos. But my goal is to increase the quality of the videos, whether, even when I was working with Jason, no matter what, I always still want our videos to get better and better. So I'm still going to hold myself to that standard, but there's just no way for it to be possible for me to still keep up with that quantity. That we were on a roll of doing one video a week for a long time. If I were what some people would call a full-time YouTuber, then I guess it would be possible. But if I no longer took on commissions or custom orders from all of my clientele, if I just said I only do my own thing for YouTube now, then maybe I could keep up with one video a week. But because I still, it would be weird for me not to run a custom sneaker business, because if I didn't run a custom sneaker business, then I'm no longer, I wouldn't feel, the reason why I wouldn't want to do that, say, okay, I'm just going to go full time on YouTube and say no to every client out there, because I would no longer be in the trenches of continuing to grow a custom sneaker business and be able to help you guys with that. So it would be so weird for me to say, hey, I'm a YouTuber first, and then a sneaker customizer artist second. I think I always have to remain a sneaker customizer first. And YouTube's definitely always going to be a priority of me. I just flat out love YouTube. I really enjoy video and filmmaking. And although it's, not a feature-length motion picture, there's still a filmmaking aspect to YouTube, and there's a ton that goes into it. And clearly I'm still learning that I can't get audio stuff figured out. But that's technology for you. And I really enjoy that. And I enjoy the process of editing and just making content. So it's tough, but, like they say, the show must go on. And, so, I touched on it at the start of the stream, but something that Jason and I were never able to do was have, content planned out too far for the future, as far as it being locked and loaded and done and ready to upload at any time. And that's something that, in order for me to find balance, which is something that I always struggle with, I need to get to a point where I could maybe set aside a few weeks, a month, to where I'm caught up on client orders, which is going to be impossible here with football season coming up, but to have time to, I'm going to spend the next couple weeks filming, 10 YouTube videos, hopefully, and editing a bunch of them. That's something that I would really like to get to do, and I've been trying to work towards. Because otherwise, it's just too hard to say. It's very hard for me at this point to have an idea for a YouTube video and then put out the video in a day or 2 days. So typically I like to upload on Wednesday. So like at this point with just scheduling and all that, it's not really possible for me to get an idea for a YouTube video on Monday and have it ready by Wednesday, just because of the amount of effort that goes into all of the editing and the filmmaking aspect of it. So we're working through it. Darius Harrison says, besides a toothpick, what do you use for fine lines? You could do, as far as just detail brushes, if the toothpick didn't work for you. I use Zem detail brushes, Z-E-M. Demetrius Brown says, who is the one athlete that you would want to paint for besides Michael Jordan himself? Derrick Rose would be pretty high up there. And Mosh has done it before, but my man Tim Anderson, one of the baddest mother effers on the planet. Hopefully you guys caught the Field of Dreams game last night. It was awesome. The White Sox are going to make people care about baseball again. I grew up on the south side of Chicago. I've always been a Sox fan. They have been absolutely irrelevant for the past decade, basically. So I was in 8th grade when they won it in 2005, October 26, 2005. I actually got my bike stolen that day from McDonald's. I'll never forget it, when the Sox won the World Series. 4-game sweep over the Astros in Houston. And I loved it. It was awesome. That was the first team that the Bulls obviously did a ton of winning in the 90s. But even in the 98, the Bulls' last one, I was only 6 years old. So hard for me to really remember that. I know I'm sure I was watching with my dad in the basement, but hard for me to have that memory when I was 6. So the Sox winning when I was 13 was the first team I really remember following and winning a championship. And they haven't been good for a long time, but now they look like a serious threat this year. And the Field of Dreams game was awesome. That was one of the best regular season games I've seen in a long time. It had everything that you could ever imagine. There was, I think, 8 home runs hit into the cornfield. And I watched the Field of Dreams movie yesterday to get myself hyped up for it. Good movie. Not one of the best sports movies of all time, I'd say, but still a pretty good movie. And the Fox broadcast was absolutely phenomenal. I think they did a great job with the pregame show and everything. And then the Tim Anderson walk-off. So I would love to do a pair of cleats for Tim Anderson for the White Sox playoff run in October. Let's see. Geo says, can you get a long way with just simple, clean designs? Geo, I will show you 2 of my favorite artists. Now, there are so many, but I will show you 2 of my favorite artists who do just, I put just in quotation marks because, believe me, there's a lot more to it than just, simple, clean designs. These are phenomenal artists and do a great job. Let's go over here to Wavy Kick Fits. Marcus, he does absolutely phenomenal work. And this is right up that alley of just simple, clean stuff. But Marcus's work is top notch. I mean, his, some of his colorways, especially some of this metallic stuff, is awesome. I love a lot of Marcus's work. And yep, almost everything he does falls right into that category of being simple and clean. I mean, even taking a design like Freddy Krueger, and he just does a simple, clean version of it. You got your stripes, you got your blood splatter panels, you got your silver swoosh for the finger knives, and that's a wrap. So Marcus is a great example of that, and he's somebody who stays super busy, so I know that he's a perfect example of can you do it. And then let's go ahead to another one here. Let's go to Malcolm Garrett. Another example of really just simple, clean work. Phenomenal job. These are 2 great artists that even this is something that's a little bit outside the norm for Malcolm, doing the cement print all over. For the most part, it's really just a lot of simple, clean color blocking. And Malcolm, if you're ever looking for some photo inspiration also, does killer work when it comes to his sneaker photography. So take a look at both of those great artists if you are looking for a little bit of inspiration when it comes to can you make it, can you get a long way with just simple, clean designs. Geo, great question. Let's see. Still a ways back in the chat here, but I do see a super chat came in, so let me get that. Daniel Jefford, I believe it is. Thank you so much for sending in €5 with the little super sticker, I believe, of the little guy dancing. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate you supporting the channel, and like that definitely goes a long way for helping us continue to grow here on YouTube. Let's see here. Let me try to find where I was in the chat. I see some people suggesting a mixing ratios video. That'd be a good one. Hey, I have an idea. I'm absolutely I love hearing suggestions on things that you guys would love to see. So, not in the chat, in the actual video itself. You should be able to leave a comment on the video, not in the chat because the chat's moving so quick. There's so many. But I would love to read some of your suggestions for video topics you would like covered in the future. So leave those as a comment on this video. Comment them down below, and I'll definitely take a look at those after the fact. And you know, that's something that I know when we started the YouTube page, we said that almost at the start of every video, we would say, you know, tell us suggestions on what you guys would like to see, and that's how we would build a lot of our content. And I've certainly got away from saying that at a lot of the end of the videos, but I definitely still would love to hear videos on what you guys would like to see. And I know a lot of times, sometimes I may say to myself, no, I don't want to make a video on that. I've covered that before, and you know, I've made maybe multiple videos on that, but then I have to remind myself also, thankfully, as a very good thing, this YouTube page has continued to grow a ton. We are at 180 something thousand subscribers, and so there's gonna, since so many new people are coming in, there's gonna be plenty of new people who haven't seen the catalog of 250 videos that we've done before. So I might have covered, you know, a topic 100 videos ago, and that might be something that half of our audience has never seen. So there's no reason that I can't, you know, update a video or do it again, but, you know, put a new spin on it and how it's formatted and everything. So yeah, definitely let me know after the fact what you guys would like to see. Selfmade89 here with a great comment says, customizing Jordans was a big no-no pre-2010. Mosh and others like you have helped. Absolutely. When it came to Jordans, doing custom Jordans, painting on Jordans, that was sacrilegious. And, you know, the funny comment that, you know, anybody would say just on the internet was literally no matter what type of custom design it was, that, oh, those are gas station Jordans. Those are, you know, the fakes that you buy on the streets and whatnot. And yeah, it was a big no-no to paint Jordans, which is definitely funny to think about now, especially with how much of the a lot of sneaker culture, custom sneakers is a big chunk. It's a noticeable chunk. It's a bigger chunk than it ever has been of sneaker culture as a whole, which is super cool. Matthew Burns says, I have an idea to do business with a barbershop to promote my shoes. What percentage of sale should I offer the barber when I pitch my idea? I was thinking 20%. What do you recommend? I think that 20% is very fair for both sides. That's a great number. If you didn't put a number out there, I think that's probably the number that I would loosely throw out there. I could totally see that, you know, because it's almost somewhat like, you know, on a co-assignment basis. You might find a lot of shops that do something around 80-20. So that's a very fair revenue split. And yeah, sneakers in the barbershop. Those are, that's a match made in heaven. So great idea, Matthew. And good luck with that. Must Love Potatoes, great name, says, hey, I'm 14 and I've just started customizing. How do I stay motivated to keep going? I think that what should motivate you, Must Love Potatoes, is hopefully your love for the passion that you get out of finishing a pair and maybe delivering it to your customer, whether that's your friends, your family, whoever it is, that joy that you get out of it, of finishing a pair up, lacing them up and handing them off, and, you know, posting them to social media. Hopefully that joy should get you fired up to do the next one. You know what I mean? And whether you got started because you have a love for art, maybe you've always been an artist since you were even younger, even though you're only 14 now. Maybe you got started for your love for art. Maybe you got started for your love for sneakers. Maybe you got started for your love for something else. You saw it on YouTube, whatever the case may be. Just you know, certainly always circle back to that. You know what I mean? I know I got started because I loved sneakers. You know what I mean? And I saw people creating. El Capi painted a pair of Jordan 6s in the South Beach colorway. And I love sneakers so much that I said, here, I have, you know, some extra ones laying around. Let me go ahead and try that. So sometimes you just got to circle back to why you got started. Brian Longars, hopefully I said your last name right, Brian, says, why do you think my airbrush gun keeps getting clogged? I would say that it is most likely because your paint isn't strained enough. It could absolutely be a multitude of things, but I think a lot of people don't strain their paint, and I think it's like just as far as tutorials out there, you don't see a lot of people saying strain your paint. You'll see some people pouring straight from the bottle. And I think that you absolutely have to strain your paint. It's going to catch any larger chunks. It's going to make sure that if it's thin enough to go through a mesh strainer, then, you know, it's going to flow through your airbrush. You might not have put enough too thin. It certainly could be that also. And it also could be a matter of, depending on your airbrush gun, Brian, certain airbrush guns there's no other way to put it other than they're just a piece of crap. Like if you have one of the super cheap kits from Amazon, where, you know, it's a compressor and an airbrush gun for $30 to $50, those things, it doesn't matter how experienced you are using an airbrush, how thin your paint is, those things are just a piece of crap. They're just built poorly. But if you're using a nice, you know, good airbrush, entry-level airbrush, you know, an Iwata Eclipse is probably the most basic entry-level airbrush. My recommendation is the Badger Patriot 105, similar price point to the Iwata Eclipse, but Iwata is a much more household brand name. You should have no problem. So I use a Badger Patriot on the daily, and not too often do I have issues with it. Grimwow Grim says, how can I get more followers on Instagram and TikTok? Grimwow, check out, we just posted a video. It's a 2-week old video now, but it's like our top 10 tips for growing on Instagram. And just go over 10 tips that I think will greatly help you and try to put you in a position to grow on those platforms. And above all, it's just about consistency and staying consistent with your content wherever you're trying to grow, whether it's TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. Consistency. Let's see. Manny Smith says, how much do you charge? This is a great question because, you know, it's kind of like asking a tattoo artist, well, how much for a tattoo? Or, you know, walking up to a car dealership and saying, well, how much are your cars? So obviously it can be a really wide range. It depends how complex we're going. It depends what we're doing. Depends how fast you need them, I always say, because, you know, just as far as how much work do I have ahead of me? I have months and months of work ahead of me. So it always depends, but, you know, most typically a lot of our stuff starts around $1,000, $1,500. But then I also have, like I said, a ton of people that reach out because nobody wants to wait for anything nowadays. You know what I mean? Because we're also spoiled with services like Amazon Prime and stuff that, everybody wants things certainly as soon as possible. So when you say, hey, I have a 4 month wait, the next question is almost always going to be, well, how much does it cost to scoot up the line? You know what I mean? So yeah, it totally depends. Obviously, if you take a look at any of our work, there's a huge wide range of, sometimes we're doing a lot simpler stuff, and sometimes we're doing stuff that's way more complicated and takes a lot longer to do. So, Sade XB says, how can I erase a mistake I made on a white Air Force One? It depends if you're saying you made a drawing mistake with a pencil just because you ask erase. So I'm not sure if you mean like you got paint somewhere wasn't supposed to be, or if you were, sketching out your design and you messed up. I'm going to assume you're talking about paint. If you got paint somewhere it's not supposed to be, you could dip a Q-tip in acetone. And for the most part, again, it could depend on the situation. We're talking about if you got it on a white factory surface and you're trying to keep it a white factory surface, or if you're talking about, I got paint that wasn't supposed to be there on an already painted surface, you wouldn't want to use acetone there because then you're going to be removing some of that paint that should be there. So it sort of depends. I would need a little bit more context to give the perfect answer there. But let's just say you were doing a white Air Force One and you got some paint on a panel that you wanted to keep white. I would dip a Q-tip in acetone and remove it that way. Ba, ba, ba. Let's see here. Da, da, da. Oh, I did see another super chat came in here. Let me get over to that. Let's see. Again, from Daniel. Oh, thank you again, Daniel. Really appreciate that. How would you subsidize a custom biz? I have started selling stencils and large custom art pieces using the kit I already have, just gone into shirts. Daniel, that is awesome. That is something that I really recommend to a lot of artists. Um, there's the old saying that you'll hear, kind of like a cliche that any rich person or successful person would tell you, you need to have X number of streams of revenue. You know what I mean? So really what they're talking about there is you want to have, some investment, multiple investments, but you want to have revenue coming from multiple places more so than just your 9 to 5 job. And I think that that also is true for artists, that there's only so many, specifically, within this niche of custom shoes, there's only so many shoes you can paint within a year. So if you can find ways to have, other sources of revenue within the business, that could be greatly beneficial. So if you could, even something as simple as, like, one of the first things that'll come to mind for people is merch. Merch is something that's, it's not easy to sell, but it's, something that a lot of people try. Sometimes it's hard to get, profit margins on a merch line that could be really big. But I think a great example, I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably subscribed to him here on YouTube. There's another artist on YouTube called 1000, and he's a kick-ass artist, but he also has a huge t-shirt line because he does really original art, and he has a really cool, like, graphic design style that works well for t-shirts. And so he does really well with that. So you said you're selling stencils, large art pieces. That's really cool. And the more little pots that you could have that you could have your hands in will be greatly beneficial for you and your business. Like, I know, for example, when we started YouTube and YouTube became a business, that really helped grow DeJesus Custom Footwear. The revenue that comes from YouTube ad revenue, that is hugely beneficial to receive that. Every month you get a check YouTube. And for sponsorships, with Angelus, referral links, all those different types of things can be huge for you, because at the end of the day, there's only so many shoes that you can paint. So how can you sort of, like the old cliche goes, make money while you're sleeping? And I think that's something that I would really like to see from all artists. That is certainly easier said than done. But if you try to grow your following on the various platforms, especially like TikTok, because they pay, along with YouTube, they pay creators for their views. Like TikTok has the creator fund, YouTube has ad revenue. You get paid for posting content that you're already making for your business. And I think getting paid for your content is something that would greatly benefit all artists. You know what I mean? Because, like, let's just say this is a pair of shoes that I have to paint for a client, but if I then make a YouTube video out of it, if I then make TikTok videos out of it, although it does take more time for me to then create that content, but if I could also be paid for those, then I have another, source of revenue. So that's something that all artists should absolutely consider. Somebody said, where is it? CNG Custom says, do you like the new Suicide Squad movie? I actually did see it last Saturday. It is, I had absolutely no idea what to expect. I actually have never seen a James Gunn movie. I hadn't seen either of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I actually have not seen, within the MCU, the current MCU, I think there's 26 movies, something like that. I've actually only seen one, and I saw Infinity War in theaters. I know that's a really funny one to hop into, especially because, Infinity War and Endgame are kind of like a culmination of the 20 previous movies. But I saw Infinity War. I'm familiar with the characters, but I didn't know all the little Easter eggs in the movie. But obviously, just as a spectacle, Infinity War was still a really cool movie to see. So anyways, wasn't familiar with James Gunn work. And the Suicide Squad, the first movie from a few years back with David Ayers, was a huge missed opportunity in my opinion. And it seems like, just from hearing about that production, that it was just hacked to bits, as far as it's definitely not David Ayers' vision. And there's a lot of fans online who are trying to, release the Ayer cut and see his actual vision for the movie and what he wanted to do with Jared Leto's Joker, which has just been raked through the coals, unfortunately. Harley Quinn's awesome in that movie. And I think, like I said, I just think that movie was missed potential. But anyways, the new Suicide Squad was just an absolutely crazy 2-hour. It was a fun ride. Yeah, it was a totally enjoyable movie in my opinion. Just hokey fun, as much fun as you could possibly have, that ends up in it's not too much of a spoiler because it was in the trailers, but your characters fighting a giant starfish at the end of the movie. So that was pretty fun. And yeah, so it's not the best DC movie ever created, but it was just fun 2 hours. So, and I actually am a pretty big fan of David Ayers movies, because he did a really good movie. I'm not sure what year this one came out. Maybe, if I had to guess, maybe 2012, 2013. It's a movie with Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Pena called End of Watch. It's a cop movie out in LA, and it is a great cop movie. Great movie. Really enjoyed that one. So I'm a fan of David Ayer, and so to hear that, sometimes that's what happens when you work with these huge movie studios, is that sometimes the directors aren't able to, fully bring their vision to life. And it sounds like that's what happened on that first Suicide Squad movie. So, yep. A lot of good movies coming out soon that I am excited about, though. None more so than Halloween Kills, just over 2 months away from that one. Lil Man says, please help. How would you deal with color blindness? I got into many arguments with my college professors. Please, suggestions are very welcome. I'm thinking of starting to customize butt. Lil Man, very interesting. I can't speak to color blindness in terms of knowing the extent of it and what's possible and what's not possible. So I'm not sure if you would need you know help with it in terms of somebody just helping make sure that you're able to bring the vision in your head to life if you are colorblind. But I also think there's just huge opportunity for how cool would it be if there was a fantastic artist out there and people found out that they were colorblind after the fact. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be check out this artist's work just because he's colorblind. No, check out this artist's work because he does a great job. And just so you know, because you otherwise wouldn't know, he happens to be colorblind and he's still able to do this. So yeah, how would you deal with it? Yeah, I think that depending on the extent of it, you may need help with making sure that you're able to perfectly bring your vision to life. Yep, that's what I would say. David Wright here says, do you typically give customers a longer time frame to complete a custom in the event that another more urgent project arises? Thinking of that custom pair of blazers for Bow Wow. Yes, great point, David. I absolutely do. I've talked about that in a couple of videos, that is something that I absolutely recommend, even if you think that there's no perfect golden rule, but let's just say you typically had maybe a 2-week turnaround. You should absolutely say at least a month. You know what I mean? Double the time. If it's maybe going to be around 6 weeks, about a month and a half, say 3 months. You know what I mean? And ultimately, is there a chance that you drive some people away? Yes. You know what I mean? Because you have a longer wait time. But there's a few things that could be introduced there. One, there's the opportunity that they then say, hey, how much... Okay, I hear you have a 3-month wait time, and I believe you because you're a talented artist. That's why I'm reaching out to you, and I want something done. How much would it cost for me to move up? Then you have the chance to charge a project rush fee. If we're just talking about a rule of thumb there, you could typically charge, there's no perfect number, but let's just say 1.5x. So if a project was going to cost $1,000 to do, well, now it costs $1,500 to move it up and get it done in the next however many days or week or 2 weeks or whatever. And you also there is the off chance that it makes people then want it even more. You know what I mean? Because, this is just within this like hyped culture of, this is an in-demand artist. Okay, cool. I will wait my place in line. I don't want to pay the project rush fee and have to pay a lot more than just what the commission costs if I can just be patient for a little bit of time. But I'm willing to wait because this is something that I really want done for an artist. So I absolutely always say that I have a much longer wait time. If somebody's just reaching out to me in general, the minimum that I'll say is about 3 months. So, and because I just know, if brands are ever reaching out, sponsors, and just certain clientele, they want it right away. And so I always got to try to at least keep that window open. So let's see. Blue has an interesting question. Is there anything you miss from your early career days that you don't get to experience as much now that you have scaled up and now on a different level? So if I try to think back on my early days of customizing, what is something that I really miss? That's a great question, and nothing immediately comes to me other than, great question. And I'll definitely have to think about it a little bit more. But of course, just like, wow, this is the first time I've ever the first time I've ever painted on this specific shoe, or the first time I ever get to do this theme, or the first time I ever get to work with an NFL player, the first time I ever get to work with an NBA player, the first time I ever get to do with to work with a rapper, a famous celebrity, the first time I've ever charged $200, the first time I ever charged $500, the first time I ever charged $2,000. You know what I mean? I've at this point crossed off a majority of those things, so there's not as many firsts nowadays. Of course, when you've been doing something for 10 years now, but the thrill of it is still there. Like reaching completion and seeing a design come to life, I'm still just as thrilled. And nowadays I get I say this quite often, but I get a huge thrill out of helping other people grow. So out of all the people here in the chat, a lot of these people are hopefully people that I've interacted with a ton over, you know, our career here on YouTube, and people who I have seen grow and who have told me, hey, you know, like sometimes when I'll read a comment here and it says, like Rory started out and said, hey, I just got my work into a convention in London and I want to say thank you for inspiring me. Like that really means a lot to me. So I'm talking about things that I get now that I didn't have early in my career that mean a lot to me. But yeah, things that I missed from earlier in the career, I just like the thrill of experimenting with new things. And I got my first like repeat customer. Like all those big first, I think, are things that I don't get as much now, of course. But those are super exciting when you're starting out. I'm gonna think about that one because I like that question, and I'm trying to think of what am I nostalgic for. Yeah, I'll definitely continue to think of that one. Let's see here. 1000 is the man, great artist as well as businessman. Yeah, man, 1000 does awesome stuff, and he makes great videos. Grimlau says, how can I start getting paid from TikTok? I think I think you might need 1,000 subscribers, and then you just need to switch to, I think it's called a creator account. I'm not sure if TikTok is like Instagram, in that there's 3 different ones, like a personal account, a business account, and a creator's account. And I'm not sure what the minimums are, because each one has different ones. Like on YouTube, for example, I believe you need to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours on your YouTube page in order for you to get monetized. I'm not sure what it is for TikTok, but I think it's 1,000 followers, and then you could get paid for your views. So and I believe, you know, depending on your niche or whatever, I don't think there's like a direct correlation of, you know, per million views you get $1,000, or per 1,000 views you get $1, whatever the case is. I'm not sure there's a perfect ratio for it, but it could be something, you know what I mean? If you take it serious, you could absolutely grow a following out there. So definitely something to consider. Gabby here says, how's life with a fairly new baby? So Gabby, thank you for that. I'm sure you probably are referring to Dexter, who is 2.5 now. Just went to the zoo today with his grandparents, probably getting up from his nap here shortly. But I also have another baby due, a baby girl due in 3 weeks. September 9th, I have baby number 2, so I'll have a boy and a girl. And couldn't be more excited. Brittany, my wife, is more than ready for that delivery date. So we're getting super excited, and we're in the home stretch now. And yeah, I know it's going to be a whole new challenge now, going from 1 to 2. That's certainly going to be a big leap, and super stoked about it. And I definitely feel, I'm sure, I gotta imagine, almost all parents do, going from 1 to 2, you at least feel slightly more prepared on at least sort of what to expect. I know absolutely every single kid's going to be completely different, but at least you know, like, sort of what to expect. Like, hey, this isn't going to be easy. You know what I mean? Parenting is hard work, and when they say it takes a village, they ain't kidding. So thank you for that question, though, Gabby. Nathan Farland here says, I followed your Supreme Yeezy tutorial and I can't get the white pixels at the toe to show through. Any advice to get the white to show through the red? Nathan, so you might need to work with, you might need to go potentially a little bit thicker with your paint for the white, or you might need to do additional coats. If I'm trying to remember correctly, I do believe I had to do some additional coats for the white, for those little pixels, that fading off effect on the stripe. But also something that I do, because white paint it's just so transparent. Even when I'm doing a design like that where it looks like it's just red and white, rather than using pure white straight out of the bottle, although I'm painting white there, the white paint that I'm probably using is probably like 98% white, 2% light gray. Even just that little bit of light gray is gonna it's just going to add a little bit more of oomph to that paint to just really get that color packed in a little bit tighter. So, I mean, white paint is just so transparent that it's really hard to get it to stand out, especially up against that red. So that's something that I would say to do. But let's see here. Kickmonger Custom says, taking everything into account that goes into running a custom shoe business, what do you think is a good pace for a beginner as far as productivity, or any suggestions on short-term goals? I think that I think comparison syndrome is something that's one of the first things that like comes into my mind with this question of like, when you're starting out, it's so easy to compare yourself to others and say, oh man, you know, maybe somebody else who started around the same time as me is already leaps and bounds ahead of me, or you know, this other person who started many years back, well, they're just so far ahead, I'll never be able to catch up. And you just sort of constantly compare yourself to others, rather than knowing that your journey is going to be your journey and it's going to be completely different from anybody else's. And just knowing that that's okay. You know what I mean? And celebrate all of your milestones along the way. So like, I know, for example, now here on YouTube, we're not too far away from 200,000 subscribers, which is just silly to say out loud. But when we started out, Jason and I have a spreadsheet. We have an Excel sheet within our first few videos. We had a piece of paper that we had taped up on our studio, where we would be crossing off and filling up this little graph with all of the big milestones. Hey, we hit 1,000 subscribers. Hey, we hit 2,000 subscribers. Hey, we hit 5,000 subscribers. Hey, we're this close to the 4,000 watch hours till we can get monetized on YouTube. So celebrating your own milestones, and you know, there's no achievement too small to celebrate. So then, as far as in terms of what is a good pace for a beginner, it's really hard to answer that, because I think it's impossible for me to say, as a beginner, you need to be doing at least 1 pair a week, or you need to be doing 5 pairs a week. You know what I mean? Because it depends on your style. It depends on, are you starting this and right away diving into going at it full time? Are you doing this late night after you work a job or have a family? It totally depends. But a good pace is just, the good pace is trying to be consistent. You know what I mean? Finding what you can do and how you can consistently put out work, good high quality work that will in turn gain you new followers, hopefully grow your business, and then challenging yourself. How can I try to do more? How can I put out more content to try to gain more followers? And how can I then get creative with, okay, here's how many pairs I'm able to do. I'm maybe able to do 1 pair a month, or maybe I'm able to do 10 pairs a month. But now how can I take either that 1 pair or those 10 pairs and further expand my content? Because one of the most common things that I see, that I always talk about with so many customizers, is they only make 1 post for every project that they do. They only take, hey, I just finished these Warhawk Adidas shell toes. Now I'm going to go outside, take a picture of them, and that's all the content that you're going to see from them. So rather than that, whereas what you should be doing is is having way more content surrounded by every single project. So, content for TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all of that. I mean, like, I know that's additional work, but these are things that in turn do have a payoff for you. They will help you continue to grow your business if you start to take, your content and trying to grow on these platforms more serious. The more you can grow your following on these platforms, the better off for your business. The more eyes you have on your business, the more it's going to continue to grow. So, but above all, consistency is going to be the most important thing, in my opinion. Chris Saldana says, yo, what's up, bro? I started my journey in cleaning and hopefully start customizing soon and look up to you, to be honest, and I've been taking all of your tips. Chris, congratulations on taking the leap and diving into starting off with cleaning shoes and getting excited to hopefully start customizing soon. Very cool, man, and we are certainly here to help you along the way. Smooth Marks here says, I'm going to paint my first shoes soon. In all the videos I find just say, let it dry or use a blow dryer. Okay, but how much is that if I want to air dry 30 minutes or 1 hour? Typically what I would say is you want to be right around at least 20 minutes. That would be the minimum dry time. You know what I mean? Certainly, the more the merrier. If you can find other things to do to let them dry for an hour or so, that'd be good, but the bare minimum would be 15 to 20 minutes or so. Okay, my man Repsy Banks here in the chat. How you doing, Chris? How's your eye, bro? Hopefully it's doing better than yesterday. I saw that, man. Let's see. Oh, Fabian here has some TikTok conversions, it looks like. So it says 1K views usually equals on 0.3 to 0.4 cents. And if you're a top creator, I think the most is like $1 to $5 per 1K views. Okay, so I mean, even saying $1 to $5 per 1,000 views is still a lot, so. D-Nice, hey, how you doing, man? What's up, man? It's Danny, D-Nice Customs, first time catching your live quality content like always. How you doing, Danny? Good to see you, buddy. Thank you for joining us here in the chat, man. Daniel Jefford says, when you lay your eyes on your baby girl, you will know what true love is. It is literally cosmic. Yeah, I am super excited about that. A funny story about Dexter, as soon as he was born, obviously with him being my first son, first child, just like when he's actually born, when he enters the world, you're just in like, you're just like, it's like an out-of-body experience almost. So as soon as the nurses took him from his mom to take him over to the station to clean him, and they're holding him up, I went over there, and they're like, hey, now would be a great time for you to take a picture of him as they're holding him up. And I just remember being so frantic, so amazed, so like, hey, is my wife okay? Is baby okay? You know what I mean? There's so much going on. It's a very hectic delivery, and I have the easy part. But I just remember the nurses being like, hey, now would be a good time to take a picture. Like, oh, wait, you're right. Yeah, okay, let me do that. I was more so just like in the moment. Taking a picture right now was the furthest thing from my mind. But I did take a picture, and babies, when they come out, they look... they look there's a lot going on, of course, when they just enter the world. So that was just that was funny. That was definitely a memory that'll always stick with me. So let's see here. Okay, guys, we'll go about another 10 minutes or so. Let's see here. The Lab Works with a great one says, Dylan, was it hard to have your family and friends take your art seriously as a career at the beginning? Those close to me fail to see this new venture of mine as a serious endeavor and have no support. This is something that I think a lot of people go through. This is something that, truth be told, I did not experience that much, and that the people surrounding me when I decided to leave college and do this. I was already with my wife. She was my girlfriend at the time. This is 2000, and when I left college was 2013, but I started customizing in 2011. And I was still living at home as a college student, so I still lived with my parents. And from the very first time I painted shoes to when I actually left college, there was a 1.5 year, 2 year gap. So everybody saw, as far as my parents and my wife, girlfriend at the time, Brittany, saw me start to paint these shoes and start to build up a little bit of a business. So when I told them I no longer wanted to pursue my career in architecture, I had the advantage of that they had at least seen me start to build a business. It wasn't like out of nowhere I said, I'm quitting college, I no longer want to be an architect, and I'm going to go be a Formula One racer, something that they had never seen me, heard, or speak of before. At least they started to see it a little bit, and I just have, completely, extremely supportive parents in general. So I'm incredibly thankful for them. Both of my parents are probably watching right now. So shout out to Mama and Papa DeJesus, real OGs. And without their support, it wouldn't have been possible. But I know that working up to that moment, knowing that I was going to tell my parents that I no longer wanted to be an architect, the only thing in my entire life that I said I wanted to do, that I was now going to paint shoes for a living, because that's not exactly a job title that you can, that was commonly seen on resumes at the time. It certainly sounded a little bit crazy. So for them to support me through it and say they had my back and go for it was huge. So I'm very, very, very thankful for that. I don't take that for granted because I know not everybody has that experience. So also, I also can't. I'm also very aware that I also wasn't. It could be a harder decision for some people based off their situation. Like, it would potentially be harder to do this, to say, I'm going to make this my career, if you already have a family and a mortgage. I was a college student at the time. You know what I mean? And, I didn't already have a family, and I didn't already have a mortgage and people relying on me per se to pay the bills at the time. So it was okay that coming right out of the gate, it wasn't, a huge business, that I could take my time and try to build it. And I certainly said the classic cliche of, okay, I'm going to give myself a few years to do this, and if it doesn't pan out, I could go back to architecture school. But I knew I wasn't. I knew that I believed in myself enough that I was gonna find a way to make it work one way or another. And if I didn't, I knew that I would at least go down swinging, saying, I know that I'm gonna give this my all. So the lab works. Hopefully, you can say that to yourself. That even if people don't believe in me, even if I fail. Although I don't view failure as an option, if by chance it does happen, I'm going to know for myself that I gave it my all. So give this your all. You know what I mean? Some people can be motivated by saying, I'm going to prove them wrong. I didn't really feel that I had added motivation to prove anybody wrong, because I don't really feel like I had too many people doubting me at the time. Thankfully, I'm lucky in that. But you could use that as fuel. You know what I mean? If you want to prove them wrong. I'm sure when I told some of my friends, they probably thought I was absolutely crazy. And hey, there's no way that's going to work out. But good luck. You know what I mean? I'm sure some of my friends thought that. But yeah, that's what I would say about it. I did see a super chat came in here. And a huge one. Wow. Thank you very much, Adrian. Really appreciate you supporting the channel like that, man. I mean, seriously, that is huge. Thank you so much. It says, I just started customizing shoes recently. Your video tutorials have helped tremendously. I know I speak for others when I say thank you. Word of advice for anyone starting anything new, you got to put in the work. I could not agree more. Nowadays, thankfully, to things like the internet and YouTube, it's easier nowadays to, I believe it's easier to find hopefully good information for starting out that can help you. I want this YouTube page to hopefully be I can help people avoid some of the mistakes that I made starting out. I think that's something that I always have in my mind, for, with where this YouTube page continues to go and where it's been. Hopefully I can help people avoid some of the mistakes that I made starting out. And I always sort of want to also have the YouTube page built around what would I do if I were starting out nowadays. Hopefully I'm always creating content sort of fusing those things together. So thank you so much for that, Adrian. Really appreciate it. And I see we just had another super chat come in here from Zuki Customs. Thank you so much for joining us, Zuki. If you guys aren't, listen, stop what you're doing. Go follow Zuki Customs on TikTok. Do not be surprised if he is, just the next TikTok sensation. Absolutely kills it. Creates great content for TikTok. And if you just want to look at something different, somebody who joins the platform, Zuki, what I really appreciate, what I can see, just as an outsider looking in, somebody who pays attention to content that works on the platform and then finds a way to translate it into your niche, what Zuki Customs is doing on TikTok. Big time. And so check it out, because I see sometimes he posts on Instagram too, some of the followers that he has in some of his live streams, like 60 to 70,000. Absolutely crazy, man. So keep doing your thing, buddy. And thank you for sending in that super chat. Really appreciate it. Vlogs with Nia says, love your shirt. Yep, had to pull out the Friday the 13th shirt for today. Absolutely had to. My boy Jason. The dude has 12 movies, and most of them are absolute crap if you go back and watch any of those Friday the 13th movies, but they have such a great 80s charm to them, man. Such a great 80s charm. And I am in the large minority, but they did a remake of the original Friday the 13th back in 2009, and that's actually my favorite one from the franchise. But a lot of the hardcore fans are certainly not a big fan of that one. Customs, just Customs is the name, says, would you provide the shoes when you first started? I would. Certain customizers, artists prefer to run their business where they don't supply the shoes ever. They make sure that the customers always send in their shoes. I think that this was actually maybe even a little bit more important years back when customizers as a whole, the niche, I talked about this earlier in the stream, we weren't working on as many commonly used base shoes as an all-white Jordan 1, as an all-white Air Force 1. It was way more common. If you weren't around then, it'd be hard to understand, but way more common for customizers to be working on things like Jordan 3s, Jordan 6s, Jordan 4s. So, $200 base shoes starting out, and shoes that, hey, I can't just go and buy a pair of Fire Red Jordan 3s at the mall right now. No, they released 3 months ago, so now, they're only available on the resale market. So the customer has to send me their shoes in, because I can't just go and buy them at retail. So if you don't already have them, you have to go and pay resale for them and then send them to me. But nowadays, just with how common it is to use Air Force 1s, Jordan 1s, something that's a little bit easier to pick up, I see no problem with doing that. So I don't run my business in terms of, hey, I don't provide the base shoes, or the customer has to send them in. Whatever the customer wants. If you already have the shoes, you want to send them in, awesome. If you want me to pick them up, I have no issue with that either. Let's see here. Fuego Brick says, Freddy vs. Jason was awesome in theaters. Did not catch that one in theaters. I was only 11 years old, so I wasn't old enough to go by myself, and I actually did not see that one in theaters, unfortunately. But I saw it years later, and that's definitely just a fun, hokey one of combining the two together. Trophy Montana says, my biggest problem is my coats never look even. I need some tips on what I can do to make them look fresh out of the factory. A couple different things that you can do are, I typically believe that an airbrush could help with that, making your coats really nice and even, and then also doing, the paint buildup technique that we talk about from time to time, where you mix in a little bit of white or a little bit of mist in some of your earlier base coats. That can really help it even out. And, even sometimes a lot of the paint straight out of the bottle, you know what I mean? People would think it'd be so easy to just take a white Air Force One and just paint yellow on there. That could actually end up being a lot trickier than it is to do. So I'm extremely nervous to look back on this live stream when we close it, and me feel like the audio is terrible, and me be self-conscious and want to take down the video, because if anybody is finding me for the first time, I don't want them to look at a video that has poor audio quality and what I don't view as a good representation of the channel. So hopefully this audio is usable. I know we were trying to work it out at the beginning of the stream. I still now have no idea what audio, where the computer is picking up audio from now. I think it's the laptop audio, so hopefully that's usable. I guess we will see once we're all done. So Martin says, hey, hi Jesus. It's always funny when people just call me Jesus rather than DeJesus, but that's a funny one. So it says, do you have any recommendations on how to make durable paints for shoe soles? Unfortunately, there's really nothing you can do when it comes to soles. Really, no matter what anybody says on the internet, at the end of the day, they're always going to crack. It doesn't matter if you put a sole shield. It doesn't matter what type of prep work or finisher you use. They are going to crack. So my recommendation is really try to avoid them. I know the temptation is there to want to paint your outsoles, but anything you do, it is going to come off, man. So I wish I had a better answer for that one, but I do not. Daniel says, did you do the art in the background, digging the trooper? I actually did not. So this one is a painting of my wife that I had done. We hosted a art gallery in 2017 with all local Chicago artists. And we had this female artist by the name of Haley here in Chicago who does awesome work. And when my wife saw her work, she absolutely loved it. And so I decided to surprise her with a big painting of herself. And then I have that one hanging up right over my desk. And then the other two, the Stormtrooper that's done in like a watercolor, and then the skull and floral one over there. Those are actually metal posters from a website that I found called Displate. Really cool. And what's really cool about them is they're super thin. They're metal posters. And then the way you mount them to the wall is you place this very flat, kind of like a square magnet. And what I really like about that is it's easy for you to adjust. So a lot of times, when you're trying to hang up a poster, picture frame, or whatever the case is, you have to find a way to level it. I know that's not necessarily hard to do. But these make it so easy that they're literally magnetic, and then you could tweak it as much as you want to make it perfectly level. So I think that they created a very unique solution for posters that I really enjoy. So Charlie here, this will be our last question of the day. I do have to get rolling, guys. But Charlie says, how do you learn to paint portraits? I just watched your video where you put Rodman on a shoe for a client, but I can't use that strategy because I don't have Photoshop. We have 3 good videos on our page that I would refer to when it comes for portraits. So that one is our little quick portrait stencil guide, and that's where we do a little bit of Photoshop, cut out a stencil for it. If you want to use that method, which I believe greatly helped me, and I don't think I would be able to do a portrait right now if I just didn't use a stencil. Like, I need that map to know where I'm placing things. So I would try to get Photoshop or a similar software so that you could do something similar and create yourself a map like that. And then I also did a challenge last year in April of 2020 where I took an entire month off and I practiced on painting portraits every single day, and that's a really good video. It's a longer one, and I talk about some of the methods that I picked up, some of the classes I took on painting portraits. And so that's a really, really good one if you want to learn more about portraits. Definitely recommend checking that one out. I think it's called something like I Practice Painting Portraits nonstop for 30 days. And then also recently in March, the video probably came out in April, there's a video on our page called I Suck at Painting Portraits, where I painted Scottie Pippen on a pair of Jordan 1s, and I just talked about some of the, the process for doing those, and I do that technique again. So in all of those videos, I end up doing that technique where I build out the little stencil map in Photoshop. That's something that I certainly needed. So that's my best advice. I would try to get Photoshop or a similar software if you're interested in learning that way. So, all right, guys, that is going to do it for me. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of DCF Live. Really appreciate it. Weren't able to post any YouTube videos the last 2 weeks, but we will be back next week, and hopefully I'll be able to do another live stream again next Friday. Hopefully you guys will tune in for that one. So really appreciate it. And hopefully everybody has a great, safe, happy, healthy weekend. And I will see you guys in the next one. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.